Hi, I'm Luna. This is a full body, kind of gentle flow class, suitable for beginners, or maybe you just want to move a little bit slower today. I'd recommend having at least one block, maybe two nearby, or something of that sort to give your body a little bit more space. And then we're going to get started sitting, just in crossed leg like this. And if this feels kind of uncomfortable, if your spine feels like it really wants to round here, you can sit up on a pillow or a folded up blanket or even one of the blocks. Any of that will do, because we'll be here for a moment, finding a little bit more space in the spine. So find a little flexion of your feet, so we're not sickling into the ankles, and then ground down through your sitting bones underneath you. And then think about lifting through the crown of your head a little bit more. So there's just kind of pulling down and lifting up action with your spine to grow a little bit taller. Close your eyes and just give yourself this first moment of stillness to observe how you feel right now, physically, energetically, mentally, just tuning in. And allowing this to be like your safe haven, this moment of letting go of the tension that we hold on to physically, but also the tension and stress we hold on to mentally. And really the gateway to the body is the breath. So coming to the breath, connecting to it, observing it, and gently beginning to deepen the breath a little bit more and a little bit more. Feel your inhales expand your body in all directions, and your exhales, a sense of grounding, of softening even more in the hips, inner thighs. Continue like that, inhaling deeply and exhaling fully. And then keep your mouth closed now, inhaling deeply through your nose. You'll find a little restriction across the back of your throat as you exhale. It's almost like you're fogging up a mirror, that kind of little restriction across the back of your throat. It's called our Ujjayi Breath, if you're newer to it. You find this little whisper across the back of the throat. It's easier to find it on your exhale, but maybe you can also find it on your inhales. And I like to think of it like a lullaby for your mind. It calms the fluctuations of the mind. It carries a sense of ease with us in the practice, which will help us really create more space in the body. That's our goal for today. All right, from here you can flutter the eyes open if they're still closed. Then reach your arms up towards the ceiling or maybe the sky if you're outside, but get really, really tall, inhaling. And then exhale, reach your arms straight forward in space and cross your left arm over your right, and then bend your elbows and really try to get your elbows on top of one another. Bend the elbows back so the hands might touch maybe your palms. And if that's too constricting, then grab hold of your shoulder heads. Any of these are great, but we want to try to find more space in the upper back. So from this, you're going to inhale, lift your elbows up, shrug your shoulders down your back, lift your chest up. And then exhale, elbows lower, and you round a little bit in your upper back. And then two more, where it's like threading out tension of the upper back. Inhale, elbows lift, shoulders roll down the back, chest lifts. And then exhale, elbows lower, and you can round. Again, inhale, elbows lift, shoulders roll down the back, chest lifts. And then exhale, elbows lower. Inhale, try to lift your elbows up pretty much in alignment with your shoulder heads. Hands away from your face if you're doing one of these variations. And then roll your right ear to your right shoulder. So try to keep the elbows up, the hands away, and your shoulders rolling down your back. That'll help you access the stretch in your left neck and your left upper trapezius. So you can stay right here, or you can also explore. Keeping your ear pretty heavy, you can make the nose become a little bit heavier, or maybe the back of your head a little bit heavier. So you're just kind of exploring, where are you feeling tightness in your neck and your shoulders and your upper back. Breathing into it, staying with that little whispering breath that we started with. And then you'll inhale, lift your gaze, and exhale, release the bind of your arms. Inhale, reach your arms up, get really tall. And then exhale, twist over to the right. And then stay for your inhale, get a little bit taller. And then exhale, use your core muscles to twist a little bit more over to the right, and then lower your left hand to your right knee and your right hand back behind you on the floor. I like finger pads because that gives me a little bit more space. Either way, inhale, lift through the crown of the head, and then exhale, twist a little bit deeper, shrug your shoulders down your back. And then inhale, come back up through center. And then exhale, reach your right hand to the right. Again, finger pads might be nice to be more spacious. Palm is also fine. But lift your left arm up and over for a nice side body stretch. Think about grounding through your left sitting bone as you reach through your left fingertips. And then again, dynamic movements. You'll inhale, revolve the chest up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, roll your left shoulder kind of forward and down. And then 2 more of those. Inhale, revolve the chest up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, rolls forward and down. 1 more like that. Inhale, rolls the chest up. Exhale, rolls the chest down. And then keep that rolling down motion and walk your hands a diagonal line across your right knee. Again, finger pads or palms are fine. And, it doesn't matter how deep you get into it. It just matters how it feels. So it might not look like me. That's absolutely fine. But you're breathing into hopefully your left low back and your side waist is feeling a bit of a stretch here. Maybe the outer hip a little bit. Keep the flexion of your feet and then just walk your hands straight forward in space. Again, it doesn't matter how far you get away from your shins. You're just giving yourself a gentle forward fold to stretch into your low back and your outer hips. And then complete the circle by walking your hands across your left knee, past your left knee, grounding through the right sitting bone a little bit more, and hopefully you're getting a nice stretch in the low right side of your waist. And then slowly walk your hands on up so that you're sitting. And just recognize which shin is in front. Okay, remember that. And then reach your legs in front of you with your feet hip distance, your hands back behind you, your fingertips are facing forward. And your hands are also shoulder distance apart. And then you're going to press down through your feet and your hands and lift your hips up. This reverse table position. And then continue lifting your hips up and rolling your shoulders down your back and opening your chest up towards the ceiling. Gaze could be forward. Gaze could be up. Head could be back behind you if that feels all right for you. You've got 1 more breath lifting your hips, opening your chest. And then exhale, lower your hips back down. Cool. And then cross the opposite shin in front. You can even just kind of go for what's normal to you and then cross the opposite shin in front, whatever feels a bit odd in your body. Find a little flexion of your feet. Again, you might be sitting on something. That's totally cool. Reach your arms forward. This time, right arm will be over your left arm. Then the elbows, backs, the hands might touch maybe your palms, or maybe you're grabbing hold of your shoulder heads. Any of those forms. And I'll always give variations. We all live in totally different bodies. So what feels good for you? And then inhale, lift your elbows up, shrug your shoulders down your back, lift your chest up. Exhale, elbows lower, and you can round a little bit in the upper back. 2 more. Inhale, elbows lift, chest lifts. Exhale, elbows lower. Spreading out tension in your upper back. 1 more. Inhale, elbows lift, chest lifts. Exhale, elbows lower. And then inhale, come on up to halfway, where your elbows are in alignment with your shoulder heads. Shoulders roll down, elbows lift up, and then roll your left ear to your left shoulder, and we're hanging out. Maybe you stay. Maybe your chin and your nose get a little heavier. Maybe the back of your head gets a little heavier. Exploring the right upper trap, the right side of the neck a little bit. Cool. Inhale, lift the gaze, and then exhale, release the bind of your arms. And then inhale, reach your arms up, get real tall. And then exhale, twist over to the left this time. Stay for an inhale, get a little taller. Exhale, twist a little bit deeper, and then lower your right hand to your left knee, your left hand back behind you on the floor. Again, inhale, think about lifting the crown of the head a little higher. And then exhale, maybe you can twist a little bit more. Inhale, come back through center. And then exhale, reach your left hand to the left. Reach your right arm up and over, side body stretching. Those dynamic movements again. Inhale, revolve the chest open to the ceiling. And then exhale, roll the right shoulder forward and down. 2 more. Inhale, revolves the chest up. Exhale, rolls forward and down. Once more. Inhale, rolls the chest up. And exhale, rolls the chest down. And then keep that rolling down motion. Walk your hands across your left knee, that diagonal line. Ground down through the right sitting bone a little bit more, that right hip a little bit more. Try to heavy it as you let your head soften. And then walk your hands straight forward in space. It could be on finger pads or palms. Try to keep your hips really grounded on the floor as you kind of fold forward. So you're pulling your body in two different directions. And then you'll walk your hands across the right knee, grounding through the left sitting bone a little bit more. Head is heavy. Great. Slowly lift yourself on up. Reach your legs forward in space. Option to keep your knees bent like we just did. There's another variation of reverse table. You can also straighten your legs. If the legs are straight, you'll work on pressing down through all 10 toes and lifting your hips. And again, if that feels like too much, you just keep your knees bent and lift your hips. Either way is cool. You got 2 more breaths wherever you are, lifting your hips, rolling your shoulders down your back, opening your chest. And then you'll lower your hips back down onto the floor. Whew. All right. So bend the knees and then swivel your legs back behind you. And then we're going to find tabletop position. I'd recommend having your blocks near the front of your mat if you've got them nearby, just so that we can use them in a moment if we need to. And then we'll find the alignment of the shoulder head stacking right over the wrists, the knees hip distance apart. It's going to be most supportive. And then also really spread your fingers wide and try to press down to your knuckle pads even more so than your wrists. So we're not just hanging out on the wrists. We're more supportive there. And then just easy cat-cows. You're going to inhale, shrug your shoulders down your back, reach your sternum, your center chest forward and up. And then exhale, chin to your chest, tailbone to the floor, and round your back body to the ceiling. Couple more. Inhale, roll the shoulders down your back. The tailbone lifts up, the gaze is up. And then exhale, chin to your chest, tailbone to the floor, and round. Again, inhale, opening. Exhale, rounding. Inhale, opening. This time, you're going to exhale, move your feet together, and then rest your hips onto your heels and your forehead to the floor. And then walk your hands forward a little bit more so that you truly are stretching from your fingertips to your hips. You've got one long line of energy happening. And be here for a couple of long breaths. Continue spreading the fingers wide and pressing through your entire palm. Activate the arms so much that your forearms are lifting away from the floor right now. Melting the chest towards the floor. All right, from child's pose, keep your arms straight and strong. Inhale, lift yourself back up into all fours, table, and then exhale, tuck your toes and lift your hips up and back for downward facing dog. Your feet are about hip distance in down dog. The toes are a little bit in, the heels are a little bit out. And then it might feel nice to do a little pedaling of the heels. You could bend one knee and move the opposite heel towards the floor, and then switch sides, bend the opposite knee, opposite heel to the floor. Do a little bit of subtle movements just to wake your body up more and more. And then we'll move towards stillness in your down dog. And you actually might have a little bend of the knees. And I'd actually recommend a little bend of your knees so you can really press through your palms and melt your chest to your legs. Think about your shoulder blades pushing towards your chest towards your legs as your hips are lifting up and back. So down dog is really about lengthening the spine. And then, we're also stretching the backs of the legs. So you are moving the heels towards the floor, but take your time with that. It's way more important to lengthen your spine. No rounding, all long in the spine. Okay, inhale, lift your right leg up and back, 3-leg down dog. And then exhale, knee to nose, step your right foot where the right thumb is. And then tap your left knee down. And then be on either finger pads like we've been doing. Or if you live in a more stiff and sturdy body, I would recommend hands on blocks at any height at all. Right knee tracks right over the right ankle. The hips are sinking low. And hopefully you're feeling a bit of a stretch in the front of your left thigh. And if you're not, you can kind of push your left knee back a little bit more, keeping your right ankle on top of the right knee and allowing your hips to sink a little bit lower to the floor. Okay, keep your back toes tucked. Inhale, just roll the shoulders down your back, open your chest forward and up, like a little back bend. And then exhale, you're going to move both of your legs in the direction of straight and fold over your right leg. And if you need to lift the blocks higher, that's totally an option, right? Couple more of these dynamic movements. Inhale, bend both of your knees. Hips sink low, chest opens. And then exhale, both of your legs towards straight, folding forward, getting into the hamstrings and the calf. Again, inhale, bends. Hips sink low, chest opens. And then exhale, both legs towards straight, forward folding. And then inhale, just bend your right knee so it tracks right over the right ankle. Left hand could be on any height of a block. I'd recommend maybe middle or lowest height. It could also be on the floor. You'll lift your right arm up to the ceiling, twisting. If it feels like too much, you can totally tap your left knee down. That's quite all right. You're still getting a twist in your spine. Otherwise, you might explore the strength of your left leg as you revolve your chest open towards the right wall. And then be here for another breath. Inhale, think about lengthening from the back heel to the crown of your head. And exhale, think about twisting a little bit more. And then lower your right hand on the inside of your right foot and pivot all 10 toes to the left. So your toes are just a little bit in and your heels are just a little bit out. You can bend your knees a good amount. You can also have hands on blocks right now if that's more supportive, or maybe finger pads. And then inhale, lengthen your spine. And exhale, just fold over your legs. And then be here for a couple of long breaths. So again, a good bend of the knees right now, but maybe begin to move your legs a little bit straighter, easing your way into the stretch of the hamstrings, the calves, and the inner thighs more and more. One more breath here. Great. Inhale, come on up halfway. You're just going to exhale, bend the right knee a little or a lot. And then inhale, straighten the right leg. And then exhale, bend the left knee a little or a lot. And then inhale, straighten the left leg. And then exhale, pivot your right foot forward to the front of the mat like we started. And walk your hands in either side of your front foot. Allow your back heel to lift. This is called our runner's lunge. And then inhale, step back and find plank pose. Inhale in plank pose. Lean your shoulders forward of the wrist. Tap your knees down. Exhale, bend the elbows straight behind you. A little bit of core work, a little bit of arm work to lower yourself down. And then once you get there, uncurl your toes so the tops of your feet are grounded. And then interlace the fingers behind your low back with your right thumb on top. And if this is like a little too constricting, you could grab hold of a strap or a towel or a shirt or whatever you've got to give your body more space. And then inhale, reach your chest forward and up and your hands back and up. Legs are really strong. Ground down through all 10 toes. Feel your chest reaching forward and up, your hands pulling back and up. One more breath, breathing into the shoulders and the chest a little more. And then exhale, lower yourself down. Palms next to your rib cage. Inhale, tabletop position. And then exhale, child's pose like we were in earlier. Inhale, back to tabletop position. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Be in down dog for another long inhale. Melt your chest to your legs. Another long exhale. Maybe the heels can get a little heavier to the floor every time we get here. And then inhale, lift your left leg up and back. Exhale, step your left foot where your left thumb is. Tap the right knee down. And you might need to kind of wiggle your left foot forward more so the knee is truly over your ankle. Maybe you're on finger pads, or you could have hands on blocks. You might need to sneak the right knee back a little bit more until you really feel a nice stretch in the front of your right thigh, so as hip flexor. Then just be here for a moment, kind of hanging out in it. Breathing into the front of the right thigh, the psoas, the hip flexor. And then with the grounding of the hands down, whatever you're on, inhale, hips sink low, chest opens, with the back toes tucked under. Exhale, move both of your legs towards straight and fold over your left leg. 2 more of those. Inhale, bends both of the knees. Hips sink low, chest opens. Exhale, both of the legs towards straight, folding over the left leg. Inhale, bends, take your time. Hips sink low, chest opens. And then exhale, move both of the legs towards straight, folding forward. Inhale, just bend your left knee. And then exhale, root your right palm. Maybe it's on a block. Maybe it's on the floor. And then you'll lift your left arm up. You want the right shoulder right above your right wrist. Just like the left knee is right above your left ankle. You always want to stack the joints for optimal support. Maybe the right knee taps down if that feels better for your body today. Maybe the right leg is super straight and strong. Either one is cool. And then feeling the revolving of your chest open. One more breath here in your twist. And then lower your left hand on the inside of your left foot. Pivot all 10 toes to the right. Toes a little bit in, heels a little bit out. Bend the knees a little. Inhale, come up halfway. And then exhale, just fold over your legs. And hang out here. Let the head hang heavy. Maybe move your legs a little bit straighter. Breathing into the stretch of your back body a little bit more. One more breath. And then inhale, come on up halfway. Exhale, bend the left knee a little or a lot. Inhale, straighten the left. Exhale, bend the right knee a little or a lot. Inhale, straighten the right. And then exhale, pivot your left foot forward to the front of the room and walk your hands on either side of your left foot, that runner's lunge. And then inhale, step back and find plank pose. Lean forward. Tap the knees down. Chaturanga is your exhale, bending the elbows straight back. Hug them in, lean forward, hug them in, lean forward as you lower all the way down. And then interlace the fingers behind your low back. Inhale, left thumb on top this time. Inhale, reach your chest forward and up and your hands back and up. This time, maybe you lift your legs off of the floor a couple of inches. Inner thighs are wrapping up, outer hips are wrapping down. It's just going to help you open your low back more. Feeling a nice stretch in the shoulders and the chest. One more inhale. And then exhale, lower yourself down, palms next to your ribs. Inhale, table. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, cow pose. Come on up onto all fours. Maybe you can open your chest a little. And then exhale, downward facing dog, tucking the toes under and lifting the hips up and back. Stay here for a long inhale. Full exhale. Inhale, lift your right leg up and back. Exhale, step the right foot right between your hands this time, right between them. And then ground through the outer edge of your left foot. So the left toes are going to face the left wall or more so towards the front left corner of your mat. They're kind of pointing. Grounding through the outer edge. And then inhale, windmill your arms up and over, warrior two. And then give yourself a moment. You want to make sure that your front heel is in alignment with your back arch. Which means you kind of wiggle around a little bit until you find that. The right toes are facing straight forward. The right knee is straight forward. Notice the right knee wants to kind of hang inward. Feel the inner knee push to the outer knee. And then have your outer right hip, your butt, hug it in towards your front body. And then you'll feel the work of the hip, which is great. You're finding stability and strength there. Last leg is also really strong. And then have your shoulders be soft. And then be here for a couple more long breaths, feeling a little bit of an opening of the right hip, but also a strengthening of the right hip. Inhale, slow motion, straighten your right leg. Lean forward, reach your right fingertips forward. And then exhale, lower your right hand either onto your shin or onto a block on the outside of your shin. Either one is fine. And there could be a little bend of the right knee, especially if you have tighter hamstrings. Little bend is fine, but you are moving towards straight. Your left arm is lifting to the ceiling. And then try to revolve your chest open. It almost feels like a little bit of a twist in your torso here. Left leg is super strong. Your spine feels long. The tailbone reaching away from your shoulders, the crown of the head reaching away from your shoulders. One more breath here in triangle pose, stretching into the inseam of the right leg a little bit more. And then inhale, lift yourself back up. Warrior two. Bend the front knee as you exhale. And then lower your right forearm to your right thigh. Flip your left palm forward and extend your left fingertips forward. You want the right knee right above the ankle like we've been doing, right? And notice if it's caving in, like it loves to do. Open it to the right a little bit. And then feel the right outer hip, your right butt hug in towards your body, towards the left side of your mat. And then try to revolve your chest open towards the ceiling. If you feel pretty open and spacious here, you could lower your right hand on the inside of your right foot on any height of blocks, maybe finger pads on the floor, but just let it feel good to you. No, it's excruciating pain. That's not the point of yoga. We're trying to just ease our way into creating more space in the body. One more breath wherever you are, extended side angle pose, and then slowly release your hands down on the inside of your right foot. Come off of your back heel. Heel toe, your right foot open to the right edge of your mat, and tap your left knee down onto the ground. So my right, pinky toe is touching the edge of the mat. It's quite wide. Your hands are on the inside. So this is called our lizard lunge. You can stay on your hands. You can also lower your forearms onto any height of blocks at all. get creative. You've got 3 different heights with the blocks, 2 different blocks. You can find what feels right for your body. This is just an example of what feels good for my body, but let it work for you. And then we're hanging out here. A couple of long breaths. So we're deepening that stretch in the front of the left thigh, psoas, hip flexor. Of course, inner right thigh is stretching, outer right hip is stretching as well. Maybe forms to the floor for my bendy bodies, if you live in a pretty flexible bendy body. And I'm just going to show you without the blocks. An option is to pivot the right toes out a little, flex through your right foot, and roll to the outer right foot so the right knee kind of opens to the side. Just an option. If that feels good for you, great. If it doesn't, cool. Don't do it. Listen to your body. And then another option, if you're craving a bit of a deeper kind of quad stretch, you could come back onto your hands, maybe even onto a block to give yourself more space. Bend your left knee and catch your left foot with your right hand. So it's kind of like the twist we did earlier, but then we're reaching back and grabbing hold. And then we're hanging out here in the quad stretch if you're doing that. Otherwise, you're not doing it, and your forearms are on blocks or your hands are on the floor, and that's fine too. For my bendy bodies, maybe your left forearm goes back down onto a block or the floor. Let it be your pose, your shape. But we're breathing into the front of the left thigh, inner right thigh, and outer right hip, regardless of what your body looks like. And then slowly release. Hands to the floor. Let's move the blocks to the side. Palms to the floor. Engage your back leg, so lift your left knee. Inhale, step back. Find plank pose, top of a push-up. Lean forward, tap the knees. Exhale, chaturanga, all the way down. And then this time, you're going to move your hands wide, have your finger pads on the floor and your elbows straight up to the ceiling. Engage your legs. And then inhale, press down through your finger pads. Roll yourself up into a bit of a back bend. And then exhale, roll yourself down. 2 more of those. Inhale, press down to lift up. Hug your outer ankles in, ground down through all 10 toes. That'll support your pelvis. Exhale, lower yourself down. Once more, inhale, roll yourself up like a wave on a beach, fluid movements. And then exhale, roll yourself back down, and then palms next to your ribs. Inhale, tabletop position. Exhale, child's pose like we've been doing. Inhale, tabletop. Maybe you sneak in a little back bend of your upper back. The chest pulls forward like a cow spine. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Stay for a long inhale. And a full exhale. And then inhale, lift your left leg up and back. Exhale, step your left foot right between your hands and then ground through the outer right foot. Heel to arch alignment. Inhale, windmill your arms up and over, warrior 2. And then be here for a moment. You might need to kind of adjust your stance. Front heel in alignment with your back arch. Your back toes are kind of forward towards the front right corner of your mat versus straight to the right. They're a little bit more of a diagonal. And then you're bending the left knee generously. And you're reaching your arms wide. And just being mindful your left knee doesn't pass your ankle, right? That would just be too much weight on the knee. It would be not so safe for the knee. Feel the outer left hip hug in, the left knee open. And then we're chilling out. Warrior 2. Back leg is strong. Crown of the head is tall towards the ceiling. One more breath. Inhale, straighten the front leg. Reach your left fingertips forward. And then exhale, lower your left hand down onto your shin. Or maybe it's on that block on the outside of your shin. And the right arm ends up lifting up. And then we're here in triangle pose for a couple of long breaths. Breathing into the inseam of your left leg. Plugging your shoulder blades, rolling your shoulders down your back. And revolving your chest open a little bit more towards the ceiling. Right leg stays really straight and strong behind you. Okay, inhale, lift yourself back up into warrior 2. Bend the front knee as you exhale. And lower your left forearm to your left thigh like a kickstand. Flip your right palm forward. Reach your right fingertips forward. So that right palm is facing the floor, maybe even like the pinky down, the thumb up a little bit more. That'll help you open your upper back. And then continue revolving your chest open towards the ceiling. Maybe if you did so last time, left hand could be on a block or the floor on the inside of your left foot. Maybe not. 2 more breaths. Strengthen the right leg more. Push your left knee open. Hug your outer left hip in. One more breath. And then lower your hands down, come off of your back heel and heel toe, your left foot up into the left edge of the mat. Hands might be on the floor, maybe hands are on blocks, maybe forearms are on blocks. So you choose what feels good for you, and it should be pretty similar to what you did on the other side. If you did so last time, maybe put the left toes out, roll to the outer edge of the left foot, let the left knee open. It's an option. That feels all right for the knee. Maybe we're just hanging out here, which is totally cool. Maybe you come back onto your hands. You can grab hold of your right heel with your left hand, if that feels good to you. Coming into your quad stretch, or maybe not. It's a pretty intense one, so feel it out if it's for you or not. You can also lasso a strap around your foot or a towel if you've got something nearby to access the stretch. Otherwise, you're still getting the front thigh stretch by just chilling out, right? With your forearms down or your hands down or whatnot. One more breath wherever you are. And then release. Palms to the floor instead of blocks. Engage your back leg. Step back. Plank pose. Inhale is plank pose. Shoulders over the wrist. And then lean your shoulders forward of your wrists. Exhale, tap the knees. Lower chaturanga all the way down. So just make sure your hands are near your low ribs. You might need to walk them back a little bit more. Uncurl your toes, engage your legs, and then inhale, just come into a little cobra, reach your chest forward and up, and then exhale, lowers. 2 more. You might get a little larger, you might not. Inhale, cobra. Maybe a little higher, maybe you stay with that first little baby one. Exhale, lowers. Once more, inhale, could be cobra like you've been doing, or maybe you lift all the way into upward facing dog with your arms straight and your legs lifting off of the mat. Your shoulders are above your wrists. You're rolling the shoulders down your back. You're opening your chest forward and up, and then exhale, downward facing dog. Nice work. Hang out in down dog, really lifting your hips up and back. Heels are grounding towards the floor. Breathing into the stretch of the back body. And then lower your knees down, hips to the heels, forehead to the floor, child's pose. And then just chill out for a moment. You could wrap your hands towards your heels with your palms facing up so you can be softer in your shoulders and your arms right now. Couple of breaths. And then you'll just round yourself on up to sitting. And then swivel your legs forward in space. And we're going to roll onto our backs. Go ahead and kick a block towards you if you've got that nearby. Otherwise, no worries. And then, we're just going to start little back bends here. You're going to have the feet hip distance apart. So the knees are generously bent. Feet are hip distance. And the heels are quite close to the hips. We want the knees pretty much over the ankles. And then once you find that, you're going to press your feet down and lift your hips up in bridge pose. Option to root your palms to the floor. Option to interlace your fingers like we did earlier in our first back bend. If you're doing that, your arms are towards straight and you're trying to wrap your outer upper arms underneath you and spiral your inner upper arms up to the ceiling so you can really feel a nice expansion across your front body, across your chest. And then we're actively lengthening the low back. So instead of allowing the tailbone to point towards the floor, think about lengthening the tailbone forward, away from your shoulders, forward, between your knees, so that it's less about the back bending in your low back and more in your upper back and your thoracic spine. One more inhale and then release the bind if you have it. Exhale, roll your spine down and just pause at the bottom. Try not to do anything. I know you probably want to hug your knees into your chest, but try not to. Just stay here for a moment in a neutral spine. All right, one more of those. Press your feet down, lift your hips up. Option to root your palms down. Option to interlace the fingers opposite them on top. Left thumb on top. And then wrap outer upper arms underneath you and spiral inner upper arms up to the ceiling, lengthening the low back. And then you'll lower yourself down and pause at the bottom. This time you're going to grab hold of that block, or whatever you've got, maybe a pillow, maybe a folded up blanket. You're going to bring it underneath your hips at any height at all. If you're newer to the practice, I'd recommend the lowest height. If you've been practicing for a while, maybe the middle height. And it's right underneath your sacrum, which is the flat bone just above your tailbone. It's really your hips, not your spine, your sacrum. All right, once you find that out, you're going to lift your right leg up to the ceiling, only if it feels good. If you're feeling pretty good, you might need to adjust your hips like I'm doing. You could lift your left leg up to the ceiling as well. And if that feels like too much for you, lower your left foot down and just chill out with your right leg. And then I'll let you know when to switch sides. Totally fine. But it's nice to hold the body upside down for a moment. It's great for the circulatory system, the digestive system, and it's cooling and calming for the nervous system. Breathing into it. If you've got just the right leg up, you'll lower the right foot down now and then lift your left leg up as you're ready, no rush. Trying to soften. Your legs do not have to be totally straight. There could be a little bend of the knees. It doesn't have to be super active. It can be a little bit more passive right now. It could be active if you want to keep them really straight and strong. That's fine too. Either way, we're holding our bodies upside down. All right, you'll lower the left foot down, the right foot down. Have your feet grounded on the floor, knees tracking over your ankles like we started. Press both of your feet down, lift your hips off of the block, move the block to the side, and roll your spine to the floor. And then just move your feet a little wider and your knees to touch. Give yourself a moment here just to let the low back soften. And then you can do a gentle little windshield wiper action of your shins from side to side just to let go of that work. Nice little release for the low back. And then slowly and gently hug your knees into your chest. Little rock from side to side. Another twist. Tap your toes to the floor. Push your hips to the right 2 or 3 inches. And then roll your knees over to the left. And let's try to have the knees in alignment with the hips. So you might have to lift them higher or lower. And then your heels pretty much in alignment with your knees. And then try to revolve your chest open to the right, with your right shoulder moving towards the floor, the right fingertips reaching to the right. And if it feels all right in your neck, your gaze to the right. Couple of breaths here and just a gentle twist. Twists are so good to create space in the spine, letting go of compression and tension. It tends to happen when we sit a lot. And then inhale, slowly come back through center. You can tap your feet to the floor and then push your hips to the left, past center over to the left more, and then roll your knees over to the right, knees in alignment with the hips, heels in alignment with the knees, and then we revolve the chest open to the left. Couple of breaths in the twist. And then you'll slowly come back through center. You probably have to move your hips back to the center of your mat. And then hug your knees back into your chest and come into happy baby pose. You'll grab hold of your outer shins, maybe your outer ankles, maybe your outer feet, but it doesn't have to be your outer feet. It could be outer ankles or shins, that's fine. But flex through your feet, and then you're pulling your ankles and your knees down to the floor, wide of the torso. Your arms are on the inner knees, but you're grabbing hold of the outer shin, ankle, or foot. And then we're trying to keep the shoulders pretty heavy and your hips pretty heavy. Maybe it feels good to rock from side to side here. This is a nice release for the low back, inner thighs, outer hips. And then hug your knees back into your chest for one last little squeeze. And then release your legs long onto the mat for your final resting pose of Shavasana. So allow the feet to be a little wider than your hips, and then also allow your feet to splay open naturally. Have your arms on either side of you with your palms facing up. And then it might feel nice once you get into a comfortable place. It might feel nice to give yourself one last deep inhale, filling all the way up. And then an opened mouth exhale, all the air out. And then no more breath control, just let it be natural. With every moment, see if you can surrender a little bit more, soften, let go, physically, energetically ground. Mentally allow yourself to pause in the space between thoughts. We'll always have thoughts, but choosing to not follow a thought on another thought, on another thought, choosing to allow the thoughts to float by and lengthening the space between thoughts. So purposefully not thinking of anything, which is very beneficial for your nervous system, which is attached to all the other systems in your body. So the more you can do nothing right now, the more good you can do for yourself. You can stay here in Shavasana and your final resting pose as long as it feels right for you. At least a couple more minutes. Give yourself that. And thank you for practicing. Namaste.